What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sketchcraft Shout-Out. I'm Rob D, aka Sketchcraft, and joining me tonight is the one and only, the mighty Brandon Mega Potato James. Brandon, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
It's been a while, Brandon. It's been a while.
Too long. Too long.
And I know why. You know where Brandon's been, everybody? He's been in Japan.
It was a magical land. I loved it.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I watched Chris the Broad in Japan. I watched Sea Dog, and then my buddy Zoo, the guy who put together Berserk Boy, pretty much lived in Japan the whole time. So vicariously, I lived through Japan. But Brandon was actually spending much time over there, and he brought back me a little treat. Look at this.
Goodies.
Look at this. I bet you when you gave me this, you thought, Rob will never mention this. He never tells anybody what Brandon does. Never gives them any
Pretty
props.
much. Every time I've ever given you a gift, you've either bought it yourself or you don't ever bring it up. So I'm like, you're the worst person to give a gift to.
Yeah, I usually give Brandon's gifts away. But today I kept this, and we're going to open this. This is the Akira Toriyama Dragon Quest illustrations. Famed illustrator Akira Toriyama, creator of, Dragon Ball. Right? And I'm going to read this from the Wikipedia a little bit, just so really briefly. While Toriyama was serializing Dragon Ball Weekly, he continued to create the occasional one-shot manga. In 1986, Toriyama recruited him to work as a character designer for the role-playing game Dragon Quest. The artist admitted he was pulled into it without even knowing what an RPG was, and that it made his already busy schedule even more hectic. But he was happy to have been a part after enjoying the finished game. Toriyama continued to work on every installment of the Dragon Quest series until his death. He also served as character designer for the Super Famicom RPG, Chrono Trigger, as well as the fighting games Toe Ball number 1 and number 2 for the Sony PlayStation 1, which I loved all three of those games and owned all three of those games. Of course, I had to import Toe Ball 2. But this, Brent, I haven't even messed with this book much since you gave it to me. I was saving it.
Yeah.
But look at this nifty slip cover we get here, right? Look at this nifty slip. I got it in the wrong. This is how it goes. It goes right to left because we're going to Japan now, right? If people don't know this red, black, and white, this is how they would print manga in the 80s. Because red was super cheap, so they get a one color out of it. So that's sort of a tribute to that. But this is a pretty dope book, Brandon. It's pretty awesome. Look at this. It's got a little fold out poster. Ooh.
I didn't even get to open this up. It was shrink wrapped, I think, when I gave it to you, right?
Yeah. And if we come over here, it's got, look at this. It's got a whole timeline. Starting over here in 1986 and working its way all the way up to 2016.
I wish I could read that for you. I can't, but we can just look at it from the dates and at least know that part.
I first come into knowledge of Toriyama's art through Nintendo Power, and it wasn't because of Dragon Quest, or when this game came over here in the States, it was called Dragon Warrior. Nintendo Power gave away a copy of the game with the subscription because it wasn't selling the first game. But they changed all the box art. The only thing that I knew is that the in-character sprites, the enemies, looked really cool. I didn't know why that was. But in Nintendo Power, I can't remember what issue it was, 1, 3, 4, in the early issues, there was this whole bit about Dragon Quest 3 coming out, which was this illustration here, and how it caused all these giant lines and ruckus, blah, 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 blah. But I saw this artwork, right? This artwork, and these Super Famicom, make it down right here, look at that. The regular Famicom box art, right? What's up, Scribblies? Check it out. I got a new website, sketchcraft.com. I've had the URL forever, but I've been working on my own website here on Squarespace where I can put all my art in one spot in case you don't like to do social media. Do you want to see spawn kills every spawn? All right, you want to see some concept art, some pages, covers, and stuff that I did for my latest series published by Todd McFarlane and Image Comics? You can check it here. There's tons of stuff, folks. There's tons of stuff in here, not just examples, but concept art. Look, thumbnails, all that good stuff here on sketchcraft.com. Also, I got a shop. If you'd like to buy some original art from me, this is where I put it. And if you're really interested in all the little stuff that I come up with and things that I'm finding out on that don't fit around the channel, just subscribe to my stupid newsletter. Takes 10 seconds, and once a month I'm working on 2. I will put out a newsletter giving you all the little insights and stuff that I like, maybe some tutorials, maybe some exclusive shows. You never know, folks. I'm gonna make the most out of this. It's the little Sketchcraft fan club. This is my little hangout spot, so I would appreciate if you check it out. Sketchcraft.com. All right, back to the show. Peace. And I was like, why aren't we getting this over here? You know, why aren't we getting this?
Right.
And I just it's always bummed me out. We didn't get this. We didn't get to see his art on the box art for a Dragon Quest game until Dragon Quest 7 on the Sony PlayStation.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I want to say like 97, you know?
Japan always gets the good stuff first anyways.
Well, not entirely. Dragon Quest 8 had a symphonic score. They did not get. We got it first. So every now and then
Ooh, in your face.
Yeah, and it does make a difference. But this book is just a collection of all his stuff. I'm mostly interested in the marker stuff, you know, because all the original artwork was colored at markers. This stuff right here.
I did not know that.
Yeah, this is all marker work. This is, you know, digital, like anniversary drawing. But like this original stuff from '86 is the stuff that I'm here for, Brandon. Like,
right, with that cool like saturation and like darker spots.
Yeah, it just got the marker work and just the traditional ink lines and stuff, you know, super clean. And then here's all of his. See, these are all the character sprites from the first Dragon Quest game.
Yeah, and that's all just pen and ink and
marker.
It's not digital.
No, it's
right?
marker.
Just all straight marker.
Yeah, marker or watercolor, either way, you know. Sometimes you use those ink dyes, you know. But yeah, usually marker. So might have been watercolor.
This is fun for me to see because I've played the games before, some of them, but I'm not the hugest fan of it all. So it's kind of neat for me to see all the stuff I've never seen before, and probably for a lot of people, like we all know like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and all that, but to see some of this stuff, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a Dragon Quest fan. Like that's my jam, and then Chrono Trigger. So really, my love and appreciation of his art really comes from the video game side more than the manga, you know. But yeah, this is a dope one too. I mean, he just has a real iconic way of drawing figures, you know. I mean, it was uniquely him. There was, you know, like, I mean, it's the sharp hairs, it's everything. It's just the way he draws eyes, clothing.
I'm sure there's other artists that draw like him, but when I think of like this style and Dragon Ball Z style, I can't think of any other artist that has that same mix of like full proportion yet chibi yet it's a cool mix. They're not like tall long characters, but they're still full proportion characters for being smaller. Does that make sense? Like they're like pocket sized characters, but they don't look like.
Remember these drawings too, like these enemies all had to fit in a little grid that would be on the NES, you know. And then then these were all translated digitally by the Enix, you know, the Enix artists. But they did a good job of translating them. I mean, at no point do I look at these and not see the art that eventually made it into the game. Would have been fun to see like a comparison, you know, for some of these, just for the book, but they put so many in here. I'm sure none of these have really been seen too much before.
Oh, for sure.
And this is Dragon Quest 3. This is the remake that originally just recently came out. Dragon Quest HD remake. Dragon Quest 3 HD remake. And it's brilliant. It's my game of the year. Well, that and Astrobot. It's like tied for me. I got to give Astrobot some credit because it's new, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, you could already see like the way it just, I think the expressions and the everybody feels alive. Doesn't feel like
they all have attitude in their own way. It's not just like, you know, you got cranky old wizard, you got like the little royal guards that are like, you're not getting past me in the blue and the cross outfit, and then you got the little badass martial art guys. You know, everybody's got their own attitude. It's not just copy paste face expressions. It's all attitude.
Yeah, and I mean, plus, you know, when you say role-playing game, how many people are drawing clowns and chicks in Playboy bunny outfits, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I loved about it, that it was fun. I was never into the fuzzy underwear, is what I used to call like Barbarian and Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, I don't like the fuzzy underwear guys. Even He-Man, I was like, the villains, but why they gotta have fuzzy underwear? This is they must have re-released Dragon Quest 3 because this is from 1996, but this is watercolor marker. It's a mixture. Definitely can see it got a little muddy up in here, but it's I mean, look how iconic it is, you know? Nowadays, man, you can't, this is why it kills me when box art's just 3D renders with the logo. It's like, just do this, you know? Like, it will sell.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. I like that you go from the page before that with like a really cool watercolor detail, looks beautiful, and then you flip the page and this seems more simplistic, yet still dope as hell. Like you're still getting
simplistic. This was put on the, like, this is 1988, Brandon. This was on the Nintendo. This is the regular Famicom, the regular NES.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the tech artists over there at Enix going, what? You know, they didn't have scanners, Brandon. They had to like basically grid it out and like click points, you know, or just look at it and redraw it, or take it to grid paper, you know.
Yeah.
And then like they would do grid paper versions. You could see this like in Nintendo Power in the making of Mario Bros. 3, like Miyamoto working on grid paper, you know. So, but he's just drawing it. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. But even now, I mean, indie games could just be doing this, you know?
Oh, yeah. Like,
look at this tree. Look at the tree. It's the silhouette of a tree with a monster face. Like, how genius that is.
Yeah.
An evil forest. I mean, that's so simple but so smart.
Oh, 100%. It's like you don't need to draw every individual tree. You don't need it's something insane. Like if I just see that in the video game, it's gonna look dope.
The Bunicorn. A lot of these bad guys are still in Dragon Quest. They keep them in, you know.
Yeah.
Gets a little racially stereotyped, I think.
A little bit.
Japanese are a little sketchy. A
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw it a lot when I was not a lot when I was over there, but when I was at bookstores and the manga stores, I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah. I like this one, the little pumpkin dude. It's a good one. And these are all from Dragon Quest 3. These the HD remake versions of these look dope. And these Rock Lord guys are giant. Like this it's funny. This is like a tiny, but in the game they're huge. And you recruit all these monsters. So like Pokemon kind of comes from Dragon Quest. The idea of recruiting monsters and making a party and having them fight came from Dragon Quest. And then just look at this illustration, man. Like the composition with the close-up. He's got the background here. It's one color. Like, let's come here, zoom in. It's the problem with hardbound books, right? You gotta, but look at this dragon back here, just one color, and then their full color. I love that. Dope. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that solid, just blue, because then she pops out obviously in front of him, but he still looks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is like my favorite version of his art. Somewhere after Chrono Trigger gets more angular, but he was still doing like the rounded lines, you know? That mixture of rounds and stuff I think are some of my favorite. But, all right, let's... The quality, too, of these scans is excellent, folks. Like, you can see, like, the white little, like, highlights that are painted in there. It all looks very natural. Nothing's blown out. And look at the level of expression he's getting out of these characters now.
Oh yeah, there's like I said, each person has their own attitude and way of expressing themselves and telling their own little stories. The gladiator guy, he definitely has that arrogant, like, oh, I'll mess you up. And then the guy below him is very prideful.
Let's look at the chunky sword, man. Look at the chunky
swords.
Oh yeah. This is why when folks tell me, oh man, realism doesn't sell, I'm like, I don't know, Dragon Ball seems to sell pretty good, man. Dragon Quest, like the best-selling game Square had last year was Dragon Quest 3, not Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Hilarious. But his art was just made for 3D. That's why when Dragon Quest 8 came out and it was a full 3D game with his art style, it just looks so perfect to me. That's what I loved about Tobal. It was like his figures in full 3D. I think that's Dr. Slump, or that guy got his own game.
Really?
Yeah, a Dragon Quest 4 I'm not as familiar with. I played it on the DS back in the day, but it didn't have as memorable story for me.
See, I love how he can have and again, I use this as not as a bad term, but if you look at the bottom right, a little more simpler style, and then you look at the left page, and there's so much more detail.
Well, Brandon, okay, to be fair, this was done in 1990 and this was done in 2001, so there is an 11-year difference.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Still super dope. I love both.
Yeah, I'm more into this though.
Oh yeah, I definitely like the bottom right way more.
This is a good composition. So.
If you look at the bottom right, the hand holding the gold sword, for some reason, all I can think of is Joe Mad, the way he draws hands. Like that.
Oh, right.
Is Joe Mad hands, if that makes sense for the comic book nerds.
Sure.
That's a Joe Mad hand.
Yeah. These are all 2001 redraws of the same character. And again, I just sort of prefer,
Yeah, I think I prefer the older.
I know. It's unfair, right? But
yeah.
But these versus this.
Yeah. They lost a little weight. It looks a little slimmer.
Yeah.
Still dope. I still enjoy it.
Yeah, it's an excellent design, I just wish Final Fantasy went back to just stylized characters and look at the sword, dude. I love this. Look at this right here with it's got the serpent head, comes back here and the chain links onto his belt, and then
it's holding his cape up.
Yeah, I know. Excellent design. This is pre-Sephiroth too, Brandon, so you know. But I mean, these are just watercolors. So like, yeah, if I was making an indie RPG, just do this, man.
Yeah.
You don't need vector.
The
you don't.
The skeleton cowboy musketeer on the donkey.
I know. The Shrek donkey. It's the little kabuki mask of the dinosaur. It's hilarious. Bebop. Rocksteady.
Yeah.
Rocksteady. And there's always some little asshole wizard, character.
100%.
Like, I think this character, there was a character like this, and there was a Dragon Quest: The Adventures of Dai, I want to say it was. I think it was in there. That was a good anime. It's not as good as Full Metal Brotherhood, but it's equal. In some, it's not equal.
Equal?
No,
Whoa.
Brotherhood is a 5. I'd say this is like a 4, only because this is 100 episodes long, and it could have been 64. It drags a little bit at the end. Yeah. I like that living sword, the shark sword.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's just a great. That'd be a great mascot.
Oh, 100%.
And then the King Slimes, as always. Love the King Slimes.
These are like fever dreams. You know what I mean? Like some people just have like crazy nightmares. It's like, oh, this guy puts it on paper.
He's like, yeah, man. I just had some crazy mochi tripped out. Right. These were some of the first big illustrations of his I saw at Comic-Con. This is Dragon Quest V. This is there's a CGI anime on Netflix called Your Story, Dragon Quest Your Story. That's like a translation to some extent of this game. It is the game, but it's a simplified version of it. But I mean, he's for a limited color palette, he always did a good job of using white as a highlight. Not a lot of people do a good job of that,
Right.
To me, this is where it's like, it just makes you want to draw, in my opinion. Like, you look at this, how could you not want to sit down and crack open a pencil, you know what I mean? A box of pens, some colors. It's the smooth Photoshop rendering I'm not as big a fan of,
Right.
And he never really changed that. Like, his digital colors just kind of stuck that way. I love this one. Look at this little like.
Yeah.
What is
almost
that?
looks like a Pokemon. That's what it looks like. It looks like
would have been great to see Toriyama do a Pokemon just once,
I wouldn't be surprised if some of the designs weren't, taken from.
Well, I told you, Pokemon, the idea of capturing monsters and having them fight in a Coliseum came from Dragon Quest. Game Freak admitted as such. I mean, it's undeniable. Yeah. So it starts in 3 or 4, somewhere around there. But because they had the Coliseum in 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, look at that bottom right one. Looks like both of them. Even the purple one looks like. I'm a huge Pokemon nerd. Why am I not thinking? Ghastly.
Come on, Brandon. You're losing Pokemon cred.
Coughing.
You're losing some cred here. You're supposed to be the guy.
It's coughing. It's been a long day. Coughing.
I love this little badass.
Yeah.
And the hooded guys. When they promoted Dragon Quest 3 HD remake, they had a guy in a fake muscle suit with these hoods on. Robin Hood, I think, is the name. Robin Hoods.
Yeah.
Yeah, hilarious.
Is that weasel farting?
Yeah, he's farting. He's a stink weasel.
Oh shit.
The clam, the little mimic It's like a mimic.
I
of
would
the
have.
game.
I'm sure there's like documentaries or shows with him talking, but I would love to also hear him talk about these character designs. Where it's like, what do? You just sit down at maybe like an oyster bar, and you're like, oh, what if this oyster could eat me? Like,
Well, Uncle Jerk and I were talking about that. The Japanese artists are famous for not talking about their process.
right,
I know.
100%.
They're super secretive, or they just keep it to themselves, and it's like, damn it.
Yeah.
You know, at the very least, record it all and keep it like, you know, until you pass, and then release it. You know.
Well, when I was in Japan, like I could find plenty of art books like this, but nothing with like notes or like.
Oh no, I got one.
processes.
I got one from Disgaea. The guy who did the Disgaea art. In the back had a thing that referenced all the pages with notes. So you got something, but it's never that detailed, you know?
No.
Yeah. It's always pretty minimal. Not like what we do, Brandon, where we just talk about everything.
Yeah, we're just like we just blurt it all out. We're like, this is everything, every step.
This is excellent. The inversion of the colors, the pink blue and then the blue pink for twins. It's a smart move. And I just like these teals with the orange blue. I mean, it's a blue orange purple, you know, but
yeah,
the teal. I mean, I wonder if he did these with dyes too. A lot of times they work with dyes because, you know, the colors are so like consistent, you know.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine these were. Well, maybe they were scanned. I wonder if these were new scans or if they were recently. Does anyone know? Were these like recently scanned or were these from like older archive scans? I'm curious to know. Yeah, this is like 95. So now we're in the Chrono Trigger era, and you can clearly see this looks like Chrono Trigger, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Because he's got the angular, but still the round, but it has the slightly more angular edge, you know?
Yeah. It's got a sharpness to it. And even the hair isn't as, like, it falls more around them instead of like a pine. The older art looked more like a pineapple head, as to where like the girl with the red hair, it kind of molds around her face.
Yeah, well, it looks like Marl, you know? And then we got, you know, the 2010s era. God, man, I just prefer this.
Yeah.
This was tough. Like when I was working at GameFan, we did Dragon Quest 9 in issue 3 of GameFan, issue 2 of GameFan, and that was on the DS. And it was like all this artwork came through, and I'm like, man, I love his stuff, but could you maybe go back? Maybe.
Oh, that dude's cool.
Yeah, I know.
That's cool.
What's cool about this stuff now is you if he like did the wings separately, like all the way through, right? And the tail, you could, like if he did all those elements separately, you could scan and then rig them up in Sprite. And,
oh yeah, just have them like breathing and moving slightly.
Right. Yeah.
With a little
the watercolor art,
effect.
You know what I mean? The watercolor art. So this is how Elon Musk sees himself, Brandon. Like this guy. It's always some picture of some right winger in a Matrix coat. This is these must be spin-off games. These are spin-off games.
Yeah.
These are all the different spin-off games. Dr. Slump. Which I'd seen this game. There's a version of this came out on PlayStation 1, I want to say. It's where you're a merchant. Like this is like one of the Slump was like a merchant in the game, and then you played the merchant in a spin-off series. It was pretty fun. This is very much like those Miyazaki Ghibli, you know, like kids doing the little dance. Yeah. And now we're into the 2012 era, which you can see he brought his rendering back down a bit, you know?
Yeah, he kind of just brought it to a more chibi style, I want to say. Not chibi.
Well, to the rendering is just sort of a slightly flatter. This is 2002, this is 2000, but you can see he brought it to a softer and sort of a harder rendering.
Yeah.
In some ways, some of these tick marks kind of remind me of the way Kevin Eastman inks now, right? With the stippling kind of effect, you know? It's 2014. This is almost right back to his roots. Although this is digital colors. I really wish he had done that in marker or watercolor. Would have been interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe he just wasn't... You think as he got older, he just kind of...
It's time, Brandon. Everything needs to be done so quickly now, you know?
Look at that fisheye lens on that picture on the left. That's dope with the seagull
that,
and everything.
That's my kind of art right there, Brandon.
Yeah.
High angle, looking down. And there's so many bits as like a cat catching a fish back here. One of the flying fishes. This guy's smelling some rope. This is Dragon Quest 7, by the way. Originally available on PlayStation 1. There's a version on the 3DS, which is cool. Incredibly long game, though. It takes 40 hours to get the story going. It's about a 100-hour game. But it does pay off. It does pay off. But the pacing it wears on some people. So again, these are still great designs. I just don't think the rendering needed to be all airbrushy, you know?
No. It'd be fun to see it colored the way he used to color.
Right. Yeah, but I love these. Look at that face.
Yeah.
Like, there's all this rage going on about Shrek out there, and everyone's, no more Shrek. I mean, what if we just did Shrek like this? It's not that different when you look at the way the proportions are with, like, Farquaad and stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking the page before this one. If you go back one more page, the bottom right guy looks like Prince Charming.
Right.
Shrek.
Right.
Yeah. So big jaw, big head. You know, I mean, he could tell so much with just the facial expressions. That's the coolest part.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about the Dragon Quest series is they emoted.
Yeah.
And whereas like in Final Fantasy games, everyone just kind of posed cool, you know? Look at this. There's like the different stages of the final boss. So you got this initial stage, and then like these other two stages.
That's cool. Yeah.
Like the cod piece too.
Yeah. I like that the giant hair and the wings, just all the attitude. Jesus. Fat Jesus and Fat Jesus.
You should do a book called Fat Jesus.
Fat Jesus.
Yeah, just take the hit.
Yeah.
Now this was a great spin-off series on the Game Boy Advance, Slime Quest. These were fun, where you played a slime. Because I mean, the slime as we know it in JRPGs come from Akira Toriyama's slime design in Dragon Quest. Yeah, it all starts there. So that alone, I mean, it's as iconic as a Mario or Mickey Mouse. These little slimes, you know.
Yeah.
And that's him. So they had their own.
After seeing all this, you know, I'm gonna go and it's even games like Battle Chasers, which is probably the last or newest RPG I've played. It's like I bet there's even nods to this and that I missed. You know what I mean? There's probably some form of
not as much, not as much, but because I really think he was I think Majora was more focused or influenced by Warhammer, you know.
Oh, Warhammer, yeah. You're right.
Yeah. But I think if you look at Red Monica, I think that's probably the most Dragon Questy design in there. This is Dragon Quest VIII. This is still my favorite Dragon Quest game of all time.
Why is this your favorite?
The story is excellent and it's low stakes. Like it's just it follows this guy. Trode is the king, and that's his daughter who's been turned into a horse. And he says, "I lost my kingdom, and my daughter was turned into a horse." And people kind of don't believe him, you know. But they're all on the adventure, and it's all true. Like it really happened. And this is the guy, this guy Yangus. He's got this great Cockney kind of like accent, and he's like best friends with the Gov. That's the main character. And the main character obviously never speaks, but this guy speaks for you. He's like your right hand dude.
Yeah,
and it's just so likable, and it's a low stakes story. It had the first symphonic score, so the music is just very, very chill and relaxing, and it's cozy. Dragon Quest is a cozy series, you know. Like it has the same opening music, it has the same battle systems. They kind of add a new thing here and there, but for the most part, it's still the game you know. But they just find really fun and engaging characters. Like this guy is an orphan that was raised in an abbey, and then when he shows up, like his abbey, that whole abbey is like possessed, and then you have to fight them. But then they end up eventually going to your side. It's kind of a whole thing. This bad guy is Dolmegas. He's an evil clown, like the Joker, you know. But like he's a wizard, and the whole kingdom was like covered in a briar patch. It has not save the universe; it's save your friends. Is what I love about it. Yeah, it's my favorite RPG of all time. That and Final Fantasy Tactics. But if I had to pick one or the other, I'd probably pick this one just because the characters are more likable than Tactics. And Tactics, it's a tricky story to get.
I like these pages because we can finally see some of the non-colored art too.
Right. Where you can want to zoom in on some of these like line arts.
Man, those are clean lines.
And this is the king in his frog form, and that's the king in his original form.
Oh man, you don't look much better.
Yeah, right. You don't see it right away. Eventually, you about a third of the way through the game, you get like a good flashback sequence that kind of shows you know, it was real. And then you're like, oh, he didn't change all that much. It's hilarious because he makes a big deal about how much he changed. But the main character and the princess were in love, so it's like you know, you don't really even get to speak to her until halfway through over halfway through the game, or halfway through the game is found. So the whole time it's like, you're in love with a horse. And then this chick is the one that reminds me of, like, it's very Red Monica, but Red Monica came out first. You know what I mean? But if you look at Red Monica, yeah. And this guy, he runs the Coliseum where all the monsters fight, right? And he always goes, ragazzo, like that. Like, he ends everything. And his scarf always blows in the wind even when nothing's happening. Like,
I like the mouse with the mohawk. That's cool.
Yeah, you actually play as him in one level. You get to actually play as him and go through a house. That. Yeah.
That's probably the mohawk mouse is probably my favorite thing out of this whole book so far.
Yeah, this is the Dulmagus. Great bad guy. This guy's an asshole. These are just different villagers.
Yeah.
That exist in the town. Bangers and mash. Yeah, this is so good. The 3DS version's good. It's not in 3D though, which bums me out. But it does have some extended endings. You can get multiple endings because some people felt the main character should be able to like pick kind of who you end up with, you know. So there's a couple different endings you can get.
And he created so many characters. It's wild.
Yeah, and they all ended up, you know, in game. You know, they all modeled the full bit. It wasn't just a guy drawing in his book. You know, it's why it kills me, man, when it's like studios sort of don't want people to draw. They want anyone to just do 3D modeling in production. It's like, you can't do this in 3D. You need to draw it first, you know?
Yeah.
It's a different skill set. And this is your first boat you get. So I guess you did the designs for it.
Shows you how everything works.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's one of the big bosses.
That's creepily cool.
Yeah, it's a big boss fight. Dragon Quest 8, folks. If you haven't played it, I still recommend the PS2 version the most because the 3DS version doesn't have a Symphona score as a MIDI score.
Oh, look, it's got shows you Nintendo DS and everything.
Yeah, these are Dragon Quest Monsters Joker. A lot of these games I didn't like as much. They have their fan base anymore. This is Dragon Quest. Oh, so this is Dragon Quest Online. Dragon Quest 10 was on the Wii. Never came to the States, but now they're releasing a single. There is a way to play it. There's a single player edition that has a certain amount of content, and then online there are ways to install the rest of the game. Oh wait, no, this is Dragon Quest 9 on the DS. Sorry, my bad.
Oh shit,
this was a multiplayer game on the DS. 10's coming because all the angels. Yeah, this is probably my least favorite Dragon Quest, just because you kind of had to have people to play with. You know, it wasn't online. It was like local. You know. And you know me, I don't have anyone around the house. It's kind of, I guess he did all the heroes like from the games in a similar pose. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
Would have been neater if it was in watercolor. Let's see. Is this 10? Yeah, this is 10. And you can see like he got back to some of the tighter illustrations, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks a lot cleaner.
Down. Yeah, toned down the rendering. Still though, it's closer to like Otomo's Akira work on some level, or Mobius, you know? There's a little bit of that Mobius. I always like the skull.
That's cool. That's fucking, that whole attitude, like you're beneath me, like damn, the skull on the chest.
Yeah, I love faces and armor. That's my favorite shit right there.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's a great bad guy, man. I tried to give Spawn a giant scythe, but you know. This has a horrible Photoshop texture.
Yeah, that's
never do that, folks.
I hate that.
Yeah, never do that. That's awesome though. That's
yeah.
Cool. This is definitely, you can see the Mobius kind of style.
Yeah.
Rendering.
And nothing looks flat. Everything looks well rounded around him. The armor wraps around, like it just looks,
even though it's straight on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even straight on. Yeah, it's still, you can see it curving around the ribs.
Yeah, this is the Dragon Quest X stuff for Wii U. So hey, you know, and I guess Dragon Quest Builders. I don't know what this is from. There's so many little mini spin-offs, man. You know, they all didn't come here. I love this. The big axe. This is Dragon Quest Builders. It's like Minecraft, but with a story. What's cool about this game is the original Dragon Quest and Dragon Warrior. When there's the main bad guy is the Dragon Lord, and you go to see him, right? And when you first see him, you speak to him, and he gives you a choice to either join him or fight him. And you can join him. And if you join him, you get like a bad ending. Like it
Really?
goes to like a red screen. He goes, "You two rule the kingdom," and then he eventually murders you and took over. Ha 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 ha. And you go back to your last save, so you have to fight him. But there is a bad ending. So what this series is, they made a Minecraft-like game with Dragon Quest. But what they did was say, okay, this is the world that the Dragon Lord took over, and you have some vague memory of making the wrong decision, and you got to fix it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was very cool. The only problem is the freaking music's horrible. They stuck with the 8-bit NES stuff, and it doesn't hold up. And they didn't symphonic, and you can't turn the music off. You can only take it down to like a really low. Because if I could just turn the music all the way down, I could put on my own Dragon Quest soundtrack, no big deal. But you can't turn it off.
Right.
So I'm sure there's probably a PC version now where you can, but on the console you can. This is from Dragon Quest 11, which I think was probably too new by the time this book came out. And I think that's it, Brandon. I think that's all we got. We just got some analysis of Akira Toriyama, all in Japanese. I cannot read none of this stuff. I'll Google Lens this at some point for myself. And then a message from Yuji Horii. This is the creator of Dragon Quest. So wow. He's written all of them to this day, man. He's still he's pushing 90, he's still writing these things. And Chrono Trigger is a collaboration between Yuji Horii, Sakaguchi-san, the creator of Final Fantasy, and Akira Toriyama. That's why Chrono Trigger's so good, dude. You know what I mean?
That's a massive brainchild right there.
Yeah. And there we go. So Brandon.
Yeah.
Thank you for this.
Yeah, no problem, man. I found it in this like a hole in the wall bookshop that was like under a bridge. And I was under like a weird bridge, and I was just like, they just had tons of books like this and all kind of art books. I ended up buying like 8 art books, but I saw this one. I was like, oh, I got to get this one for Rob. But I mean, that was probably my favorite part about Japan, is finding books like this from artists that if we try to get them here in the States, it would cost an arm and a leg to ship over. But
you got to do all your book buying the last day, man.
Oh yeah. Oh, I did. I bought so many art books that I haven't even opened up half of them. They're still in packaging. So
nice. Well, we'll have to put them on the show sometime, Brandon.
I'm down.
At the very least, give us a like. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below, folks. Engagement is how the algorithm works. And if you'd like to find more about Brandon's art on his Instagram,
Mighty James Art. Mighty James Art.
Mighty James Art on Instagram. I will have a link below. You can click there. And as always, folks, you can see me here at the Sketchcraft Shout-Out and Sketchcraft.com. As we're on the road to 20,000 subs this year in 2025. Let's see if we can do it. We're getting close. We're getting close to 18,000. I think we can do it, Brandon.
You might say we're on a quest.
Brandon bringing the puns all the way from Tokyo, Japan. Much appreciated. We'll see you all again on the next Sketchcraft Shout-Out. Hey, Brandon, be bold.
Keep cartooning.
What's up, crafties? Make sure you follow me, Sketchcraft, at YouTube and Instagram and everywhere else on socials, as well as Jerk Comics on YouTube and on Instagram and all the other socials. You can also check out my stuff at sketchcraft.com, so you can find my art, and you can buy my stuff at shopsketchcraft.com. If you'd like to get some comics I've made, Spawn Kills Every Spawn, issue 1 through 4 on racks at all your comic book shops right now. Issue 5 out December 18, 2024. And the trade paperback coming to you July 29th, 2025, all the way next summer, but we're going to have cause to celebrate. Spawn Kills Every Spawn. Go get that right now. Support the old Sketchcraft, and we'll see you next time. Peace.